watching last night, my concern was not for a billion-dollar shoe company's stock price. It was for the young man in question. It was for Zion. It was for everybody who loves the game, because that whole thing looked terrible. It was just an awful look. It was a damn nightmare is what it was. I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you root for. Seeing that just sucked. The biggest Duke hater in the world even has to look at that and admit, damn. I mean, who cares about the rest of the game after something like that? Yes, North Carolina won. Yes, they look good doing it. Yes, they handed number one Duke one of the worst home losses of Coach K's career. But can you even remember the final score? It was 88-72. It doesn't really matter. In fact, none of it really matters. And I'll be the first one to say that Duke is not a one-man team, that they've got at least two other guys who are likely top 5 picks. And even without Zion, they're so talented that they should not get blown out like that at home. But then again, you lose a potential National Player of the Year in the first minute of a rivalry game, and you lose him the way they did, it's going to have an impact on the next 39 minutes. But again, who cares about that? From the moment this guy went down, the rest of the game really did not matter. The score did not matter. Bragging rights did not matter. I mean, hell, the number one spot in the polls, an ACC title, maybe even a national title. None of it seemed to matter. What mattered was the diagnosis. The 6 letters that were being thrown around the most last night were MRI and NBA. As in, would this MRI impact his future in the NBA? Not the ACC race, not the NCAA tournament, but like this guy's career. And also, should he declare for the NBA before the MRI or after the MRI? Should he bother playing another game for Duke, or should he shut it down right now? Depends on the injury. The early word is mild knee sprain, which, if that's true, that's great. Then they dodge a major scud. So before the MRI results were even back, the conversation had already started. Regardless of whether that injury meant that Zion was done for the year, the conversation was, should Zion be done for the year? Should he just shut it down right now and get ready for the NBA draft? Or does he have some obligation to his teammates and even to the school to finish what he started? And I'm guessing today there are plenty of TV and radio talk shows full of one guy after another screaming about what Zion should or should not do. Let me say this. I'm not going to tell him not to play. But I would certainly understand. If he did decide that he's going to shut it down, I don't think there can be a single person anywhere who could fault him for that. It's a smart business decision. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. The only thing that he can do between now and then is hurt himself, like he did last night, or hurt his draft stock. Not playing does not show that he's not competitive. It doesn't show that he doesn't love the game of basketball. I mean, you're a liar if you say either one of those things. It shows that he recognizes that the game of basketball is also the business of basketball. And he could be looking at hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of his career. And the, yeah, but you can't put a price on a national title argument is really pretty weird. Because you know what? I think a lot of people probably can put a price on it. And that price is probably worth a lot less than Zion's potential career earnings, which is what is at stake every single time this guy plays for free. And then there's the, yeah, but they get a free education argument. Listen, at its best, it made sense when sports in college were like any other activity in college. When it was something that students did when they weren't in class. When being a member of a sports team was roughly the equivalent of being a member of the Latin club. He certainly has benefited from his time there. That's not the argument. The argument is that he hasn't been fairly compensated for his time. And he's taken all of this risk and hasn't been compensated for it. Another example. He dodged a bullet last night, but what if he suffered a Kevin Ware or Gordon Hayward injury last night? Duke basketball does not go away, but Zion's career might. And if you want to argue that there is no injury that Zion could have suffered that would prevent him from being the number one pick in the draft, that what happened last night's not going to hurt his draft stock, so he didn't lose anything, that says more about Zion. That says this guy's an outlier. Because most years, if the number one pick in the draft suffers a bad injury in college, he will drop in the draft. Of course, Zion is just that good, and he's just that different. So this notion of amateurism in college is a joke. Just like saying that a free education is fair compensation is a joke. It's time for change. And just saying that, well, it's too hard. It's too complicated to change it. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. There are plenty of smart people who can figure out ways for that to happen. The obvious example, the Olympic model, where athletes are compensated for their likeness, or allowing athletes to skip college and turn pro immediately, or any number of different approaches. But just throwing up your hands and saying, man, it's way too hard. Man, it is so complicated. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. There was so much money that changed hands last night. Money for people paying to see that guy. And he didn't get any of it. And no, a free education is not fair compensation for the amount of money he brings in.